Well. I tell you, I still feel the same way I did last week and the week before, maybe most of my life. As I said to you a couple of weeks ago, sometimes I get sick and tired of getting sick and tired. So today's episode may be a little long, but I just feel I need to do something or say something or express myself. It's like the Isley brothers. Lord, I just got to express myself. My goodness, there's so many things. I want to parallel some things with you today that you may not think about, but we're dealing with two areas of concern that has me thinking. I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday who played basketball. I won't give her name and say too much, but she's going to come on the show. But I want to just preface it. I made a comment to her. I talked to you about the gender situation going on in WNBA and the black females and everything like that. But she told me what she thought. She says, I think it's the referees and racism. So, not to throw shade at the sisters in the league, but there's a reason I think that they're like this. Not just them in terms of being black. I don't use the term African American because some of the sisters in the league are biracial that ascribe to the black culture. Remember, I've talked to you about the one drop rule. Um, the young lady from Notre Dame that is setting the Minnesota Lynx on fire right now. My mind is all over the place, but she's a rookie. She's biracial, but people consider her black because of the one drop rule. There's other players in the league like that. We may call them red bone or high yellow. If you're not used to this, you're going to get used to it because this is a set, excuse me, on race and cultures, bridging the divides. And in the United States, we are still dealing with putting people into racist issues, racial categories, categorizing people. No, just because President Obama was elected, we call him the black president, you know, and he talks very openly about his mother from Kansas. She was white. His father was from Kenya. So President Obama gets called the first black president. However, he is truly African American. Let me say that again. He is truly African American. His mother was from the heartland of Kansas, the home of Dorothy and Toto, the Wizard of Oz. And his grandfather actually fought with General George Patton. His maternal side of the family are not black. And as far as that goes, his father was not a North American black. He is truly African. So we could say he is African and American, but I just say he's black because he fits the one drop rule. If you have any inkling of black blood in you, wherever it came from, if you just look like it a little bit, now you look at me, and I hold this up here. This is black. I don't look anything like this. I hope not. I'd be really sick. I don't know if I know a human being that looks like this. And this here is the color white. I don't know anybody who looks like this. But we have to put people into categories. And what has happened, unfortunately, there's an issue of categorization in everything we do, a race category. Be it the black race, be it the red race, the yellow race, and the red race. That's the categories that we have put together in this country. And with that, we have seen people seek power and control over a group of people. And unfortunately, in this country, it has been the Black race that has been the victimization of so much and still continues. Now, 400 years is still in the conscious of all of us today. And I say all of us, it's Black and white and yellow and red and everything in between. Yeah, I'm sick and tired. So I want to talk about race and racism a little bit, but I want to come from a different angle today. You can see the title. Racism, we talked about Caitlin Clark. All of you have probably seen the situation where the Congress has jumped in and has talked about the abuse that Caitlin is getting. Of course, we all have seen it. We've seen what Alyssa Thomas did, punched her in the neck, kneed her in the groin, and stumped on her as she got up. But you missed the point. I told you last week, Bonner, she hit her across the chest as she was going down. And the look on Caitlin's face, as I said many times, my daughters and my granddaughters, if they were looking like that playing basketball, if I was close by, I'd have jumped out of the stands. And a lot of furniture been moving on up in here. Can I get an amen? You just don't treat people like that, regardless of the social situation and the social construct that we have a race and the attitudes that go with it. So the sisters out there, there's a reason that Black people are angry. And I call it displaced aggression in most cases. Caitlin probably is a victim of displaced aggression. Olivia Miles is the lady I can think, young lady I can think about, came from Notre Dame. She's biracial. And she said she's had to take on using certain language. I've heard that she has called other players on other teams different names that just makes no sense. I won't get into all of it right now. But we have a situation that is going on in this country where some sisters in the WNBA are being called out. There may be racism, but where does it happen? No, from Chicago, Illinois. No, you familiar with the concept of Chicago gangsters. Al Capone is the one that jumps out in everybody's head. And I lived in another town in Illinois where there was another gangster like Al Capone, John Looney. You might have seen the movie Road to Perdition. That was taken from the concept of John Looney. True story. He was a gangster like Capone. He even confronted Capone, had words with Capone. John Looney built his house up on a hill so he could see he was coming through. I lived down the street from that house. Used to drive by all the time. People call it the Looney House. It starts from the top, and we have a concept of gangster mentality in this country. I don't have to just fudge it. The man in the White House I called convicted felon chief. Yes, he's been convicted of 34 counts. And I'll talk about that a little bit. But what do we have going on here? Well, preacher, y'all know I'm also a preacher. What do you mean by that? What do we have going on? Well, this is what's happening. When we think about the man in the White House, I'm not going to say he is not evil, but listen to this. This is from 2 Timothy 3:13. But evil men and imposters will grow worse and worse, and we see it every day. Deceiving and being deceived. Come on, let's bomb Iran. Mr. Guy from the United States says Israel, Netanyahu, who is just as much as a person committing genocide. And no, don't get it twisted. Don't say that I'm anti-Semitic because I disagree with what he is doing. No, all my brothers, the Jewish brothers and sisters, y'all know me. I went to high school with a predominantly Jewish population after I transferred in, going to places in Chicago we call Maxwell Street back in the day. Some of you know what I'm talking about. No, just because I don't like what he's doing doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. You know, the Bible says those are God's chosen people. But remember, in Sinai, when Moses went up and got the 10 commandments and came down, those same chosen people were creating havoc and disobeying. That's exactly what's happening right now. They're raising havoc and disobeying. That is not God's will to blow up and kill people like that for no reason. Yes, God had his wrath. He took out people for unrighteous behaviors, but innocent people have been killed over there because of someone on Pennsylvania Avenue, getting played, as the word says, being deceived, deceiving us, deceiving all of us. And he's being deceived, as we're saying, being played. I used to always say game, no game, but that player don't know the game. He just wants to be applauded, build some arches, build a ballroom, do these things for him. He's being deceived. Put my name on everything. Love me. President Obama doesn't have to do that. I just saw he went to Canada, cheered him like royalty, because people know, they know goodness when they see it. This reminds me, I'm going to get into some of the concepts, but it starts at the top is what I'm telling you. The racist behavior starts at, I'm going to show you a quick clip. I've used this before, here. I want to just show this to you again. The first few lines of the Temptations, the whole world is the ball of confusion. That's what the world is today. But these lines here at the top, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's like setting you up for the song to start. People moving out, people moving in. Why? Because of the color of their skin. Run, 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 but you sure can't hide. You can't run from what's there. You can't cover up people because you don't want people to love them because of the color of their skin. You can't erase them. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Vote for me, I'll set you free. Vote for me, folks, and we'll have a white nationalist country. That's what they're telling you. So it's a ball of confusion. So it starts at the top. So why does some of this racism happen and jealousy happen? It happens because certain people have set the stage for this to happen. This is why it happens. So the man at the top set the stage. This is a brief synopsis of his racist behaviors and his statements. He has a documented history of allegations, lawsuits, and controversial statements regarding Black people. And I'm just going to say it like this. This country that we have is based upon what happens between basically Black people, brown people, and white people. So listen to this. Statements regarding Black people and other minority groups spanning over 5 decades. Remember, other minority groups, beginning in the 1970s and continuing into his presidency both times. Critics and civil rights groups have frequently described his actions and rhetoric as racist, while his supporters have argued he is not a racist, that his actions are often misrepresented. But look at this. So in 1973 lawsuit, the U.S. Department of Justice sued Trump Management Incorporated. He and his father, Fred Trump, for racial discrimination against Black tenants. Discrimination evidence. Government investigators found evidence that Black applicants were told apartments were not available, while applicants were offered the same, while white applicants were offered the same units. There was a C coding. So during the investigation, they found it was alleged that rental agents used a C for color, or 9, or the number 9 code to label Black applicants. So there was a settlement in 1975. The company signed a consent decree settling the litigation without admitting guilt, agreeing to implement procedures to prevent discrimination. It wasn't worth the salt. Go in your bread, my grandmama would say, wasn't worth the paper it was written on. Sorry about the dogs in the background. The follow-up violation. So in 1978, the Department of Justice, a real Department of Justice, sued the company again for violating the 1975 settlement. Again, not worth the ink the paper was written on, accusing them of continuing to refuse to rent to Black tenants. They call him Teflon Don, I guess. So here's the other case, the Central Park 5 case, or the exonerated 5 now, from 1989 to 2019. Keep that in mind. There's a 30-year principle there. Think about that. In 1989, he took out an ad. So following the assault and rape of a white jogger in Central Park, he took out a full-page ad in 4 New York newspapers calling for the return of the death penalty. He wanted them to be executed. The ads targeted the 5 Black and Latino teenagers who were accused. Remember I said Black and brown folk? There was a wrongful conviction. So the 5 men were convicted, but later exonerated 5 by DNA evidence that the lady lied. Refusal to recant. So despite the exoneration and a $41 million settlement with the city in 2014, he continued, the convicted felon chiefs there in DC, continued to claim they were guilty in 2016 and 2019. This man has no shame. With all the evidence in front of him, and we see this over time and time again, he refused to admit wrongdoing. Let's see what else here. So there's also been casino allegations doing his casino business. So racial slurs and accusations were made in a 1991 book. A former president of the Trump Plaza Hotel in Casino quoted Trump as saying, quote, "Black guys counting my money? I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day." He's stereotyping Jewish people. Another thing that happened, removing employees. A former employee at the Trump Castle in Atlantic City, which went bankrupt, of course, told the New Yorker that when Trump visited, quote, the bosses would order all the Black people off the floor. Don't want to see them. Casino fine. So in 1992, the Trump Plaza Hotel, I got the P and the T and all that. The Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino paid a $200,000 fine because it transferred Black and women dealers off table to accommodate high rollers' prejudices. In other words, those high rollers didn't want them dealing them anything. Here's another one, birther conspiracy. From 2011 to 2016, Trump was a prominent proponent of the birther conspiracy theory, which basically claimed that Barack Obama, I mentioned before, the first, quote again, Black U.S. president, was not born in the United States. No man running for president could be that smart, could be from this country. Critics saw this as an attempt to delegitimize the first Black president by questioning his citizenship. The other category, presidential rhetoric and policies from 2017 to 2021. In Charlottesville, a lot of you may remember all this stuff, but I want to bring it up to give you an idea of why we're seeing certain things happen today. It starts at the top. It starts at the top. When we have these kind of things of racism, it comes from the top, from that administration. So 2017, following a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, that resulted in the death of a counter-protester, Trump said there were fine people on both sides, a comment widely interpreted as creating a false equivalence between white supremacists and protesters. And I'll go in this area here again. He also referred in 2018 things of shithole countries. During the Oval Office meeting on immigration, Trump reportedly referred to Haiti and African nations as shithole countries, questioning why the U.S. should accept more immigrants from those places. It's okay if you come from Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, all those other places, your countries. He had this comment, go back comments, 2019. Trump told 4 congresswomen of color, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, Representative Rashida Tlaib, and Representative Ayanna Pressley to, quote, go back to the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came. Then we also have in 2020, George Floyd murder. Yes, murder. The Black Lives Matter movement, as we call it. During the 2020 protests, Trump referred to protesters as thugs and stated, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. That's how he feels about it. Allegation regarding The Apprentice. Several people, including former contestant and aide Omarosa Manigault Newman and producer Bill Pruitt, having alleged that Trump used the N-word and other racial slurs during the production of his television show, The Apprentice. Read his niece's book, Mary Trump. Enough and not enough, how he created the most dangerous man in America. She talks about that. Those kind of words repeated in her home and within her family. Recent actions and statements, 2024 to 2025. I'm leaving out 2026 right now because there's a whole bunch of them. Black jobs. During the 2024 campaign, Trump referred to migrants taking, quote, black jobs. He wouldn't want to hire them. Then he had an attack on DEI. Now, let me just explain something. When you hear the term DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, that is a replacement word to just refer to people that are black. That's when people hear that, oh, you're DEI, that's black person. That is not what it means. Nor does affirmative action mean that. Trying to make things opportunistic for everybody. So in 2025, it was reported that Trump is pursuing policies to end diversity, equity, and inclusion. And he's done this all over the country. Efforts and affirmative actions in the federal government. Just ruled here in Florida that a judge overruled him being able to do that and has eliminated that clause. So I talked about the Central Park Five, and so he's done all these different things, folks. Let's look at this. This is the Central Park Five, and they sued him. Now they call it Exonerated Five. And it's a shame. They spent all those years in prison for something they did not do. Something like the hurricane. Same thing happened. So how does this all fit in to the WNBA? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. A lot of things with him has to do with money. So the money part, let me kind of share with you something that happened. So this is very important. You can see here, the conviction still holds, but he has always found a way to get out of things. The New York AG appeals reversal of Trump's $500 million fraud penalty. So the New York attorney, Letitia James, appealed a court decision to toss out the $500 million penalty on him and his company for connection with their fraud. So the appeal, so here we go. So we have here, she appealed it, okay, to toss out for it. So she comes 2 weeks punishment. the court said the fine violated the Constitution's Eighth Amendment, which prohibits excessive fines. Okay. So now it's still going up to get the money. So the appellate division in its ruling out the fine on Trump upheld Manhattan's support, finding Trump and others committed business fraud. So basically, Judge Ingram ruling that he committed the fraud. That's not going to go away. He still has 34 felony counts. So Letitia James is still trying to get the money. So she's trying to focus on other problems and trying to move on. And he's, of course, continually calls everything a witch hunt. So I want to share that with you because it is so important that we see what I mentioned Al Capone and people like that. This is what the bosses do, gangsters do. They get away with these things. They get away with them. They get away with them. So it's about money. He has made lots of money since he's been in office. And I'm trying to think here how to show you um, the money. Look at this. He has made lots of money. This is very interesting to me. So if you look at this, he's overall in a 2020, he's 2.3 billion. Okay. At the start of 2017, 3.5 billion in the term 2021. So then all of a sudden, we see here, second term, 2026, estimated $4 billion in revenue. A president, cryptocurrency ventures, World Liberty. I mean, he's trading things with foreign countries. There's a emoluments clause that should go into action here. He has his own branded these coins. Then his wife is involved, $100 million there. Other crypto things. These are like other people have lost money where he's profited. Saudi Arabia and Qatar, property license, 14 million. Another license royalty, 635 million. Other media ventures, he and his wife, MGM, that movie that didn't win a Grammy, Oscar, excuse me. Then he has another 77,000, 800, 8,000, that's what that is. Then we have here, so here's a breakdown. The money, 2 billion, 635 million, 14 million. 1 million is enough for most of us. Stock market. Now this is very significant. We have the war going on in Iran, right? So what happens here is uh, the wars, we ceasefire, bam, oil goes down, the stock market changes, the stock market goes up. Oh, we back at war, stock market, inflation goes up again. He's manipulating the market, okay, the stock market people. Okay. So I just want to real briefly go through that, but this is the final analysis synthesis here. He's made out $4 billion since been in office. $4 billion. And it keeps going on. So it starts at the top. So you wonder why people are angry. They're angry because this man is perpetuating more racism through economics, so on and so forth, eliminating, for example, so you have, if you removal of Black history and reinstating symbols of racism throughout this country, Fort Bragg, Robert E. Lee, formerly Fort Gregg Adams, doing other things in this country trying to erase Black history from the Smithsonian. the Park Institute, excuse me. This is what's going on right now. So it starts at the top. It's Robert E. Lee. So they put another guy last name Lee. So Lee. So people don't think about that. They just think about, oh well, that's still Lee. They thinking in terms of Robert E. Lee, but this is a different Lee. Okay. So that's what's going on in this country. So when you see the racism, it's perpetuated by what's going on from the man in the White House. The man in the White House. So we looked at the money. So I want us to look at something else here. We looked at Letitia James. So, we know that I talked about Caitlin Clark and her abuse, but all of a sudden, there's something else that's going on with the racism, and that's what we need to try to come to terms with. So there's a new person that played the other night against the Phoenix Mercury. I just want to share this because I think it's fascinating. Justine Pizzat. She's a twin. She played for Las Vegas Aces. Now, the Indiana Fever let her go. Bam, there she goes, jacking up a shot. She can shoot. She came from Vanderbilt, same place where Stephanie White used to coach. And the players talked about how terrible she was. There's Pizzat with the ball. There she goes. She is just fire when it comes to shooting. She scored 19 points in 10 minutes. She set a record. Fast, 19 points in 10 minutes. I mean, it's unbelievable. In 5 minutes, she had 13 points. It's amazing. So here we have, I just want to show this to you. The same team that assaulted Caitlin Clark, Pizzat, who came from the same team, this is so ironic, from the same team, Indiana Fever, and she's a white female, and those same players are playing against her. Now, I won't say this, but I will say it. When they're going to start attacking her for being so good? And because this country has been perpetuating this racist ideology still. And so you have people that are against Black people because the guy in the White House is saying that's okay. So it's kind of displaced aggression. So a lot of people are doing things that they normally wouldn't do. So I want to kind of close out with this video that Frank D. Pope did and kind of hear this crazy discussion that goes on. But now remember, he's real raw. So you're going to hear some stuff. He talks not the way I really talk, but I want you to hear what he says. They're having this discussion with, I think is Landis and some other people. Now just listen to what is being said here.
Mr. Smith celebrating and all of that type of stuff. Asians don't even like white girls, for real. But this is what we gave up for free. And again, the sabotaging of Caitlin Clark is real. Stephanie White talking about she still on minutes restriction is bullshit. Caitlin, she's just fucking with Caitlin Clark's numbers.
Sorry about that.
And making them go down. Now Caitlin Clark's no longer averaging in 8, which hasn't even been done in WNBA history for a month. Get your lying ass up. Shit don't happen every day.
But it was made such a big deal on that stage. Yeah. Caitlin Clark during
about playing against white players and what's a goof troops over here on the 8, which hasn't even been done in WNBA history for a month span, let alone a season span. Let's check out what the racist
what I want you to listen
goof troops over here on the All the Smoke podcast got to say about playing against white players and what's a
Now listen, these are Black people saying racist crap. Remember, I told you last time how when I was growing up, you can't let a white person do better than you and all this stuff. But listen to this, and I know Pope cusses. I pardon me from but it has to be real. He just is raw. Okay, I'll pray for him.
Unwritten rule. Let's dive into that now.
Question: the mix-up between Angel and Caitlin Clark
Yeah.
during the Final Four.
Yeah.
It happens all the time in the men's game.
Right.
It happens still a lot in your guys' game,
Yeah.
but it was made such a big deal on that stage.
Yeah.
What was your guys' take as pros?
I was laughing.
Every day.
It's a part of the
Shit happen every
game.
day. B.
I was like, if we're overreacting,
Shut your lying ass up. Shit don't happen every day. Listen, man, if you play sports, especially since a kid, like I have, you always knew sportsmanship was huge. You could talk trash during the game because that's during the game. You either gonna have to walk it. I mean, if you're gonna talk it, you're gonna have to walk it. You got to back it up. And if you don't, then that's your ass. But at the end of the game, it's supposed to be all respects due for the hard work, hard play on both sides, whether win or loss. You're supposed to dap it up. To give people in football, they would line up the kids on this team, line up the kids, and you will meet in the middle of the field and you will slap hands. If one of them, because this has happened before and fights break out, if somebody talks shit during the clap, instead of good game, and somebody say something like you trash or try to taunt you during that clap up, a fight will break out, usually. And so, no, this doesn't happen all the time. Angel taunted and trolled Caitlin Clark after the buzzer was done. The game was over. That's not it, sir.
overreacting at this. Good Lord.
Crazy.
Where's our game
We
going?
say worse things to white boys playing basketball when we play.
What?
What?
This is interesting.
You say worse things to white boys when you play. Imagine a white boy. What's good for the goose should be good for the gander, right? Would that be good if a white man was sitting on a podcast and said, we go harder against black boys when we play them? Or we say way worse things against when we play white boys, we said way worse things. So does that make it okay? And again, is that not racist? If a white boy said that, same thing. We go harder against the black boys, not even men, not even calling them men. This is real racism right here. Real racism.
100%.
Particularly you.
And then you hear the wick.
You know, several months ago, I did an episode and I talked about the N word. And he said it's almost what he's saying. Why is it that black people want to call each other the N word and someone white, just like he's alluding to, if a white person says it, then you want to fight. It's like, is it okay if a white guy said I got to go hard against the black guy, and like they're saying, the black guy got hard against the white guy? Pope is raw. I excuse the language that he uses, but he's talking the truth. These are black people saying racist crap. I didn't say what Pope would have said. Let me continue this here.
Wicked witch of the wood. 100%. Sound like a horse, a witch, all in the same sentence. All in the same. Look.
To white boys playing basketball when we play.
100%.
Particularly you.
Say worse things to white boys playing basketball when we play.
100%.
She's the wicked witch of the West. She is the wicked. How you laugh and you sound like an evil witch? Like, for real, this makes her. We said way worse things to white boys.
Where's our game
We
going?
say worse things to white boys playing basketball when we play.
100%.
Particularly you.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Particularly me. All NBA players go harder on white boys on the court. That's just how I was. Even Larry.
For all black players, you mean say way worse things than go harder versus white boys? Let me show you how untrue this is. First of all, white men, boys and men, they're not as athletic, as fast as us. And so
See, I disagree with the Pope on that. I ran track, play ball. That's not true. That's Pope is off on that. There's a lot of white brothers that are that are fast, can jump. They made that movie White Man Can't Jump. That's a stereotype. There's it's just so Pope is kind of off on that part. Can't run, can't jump, whatever. So
listen, for example, when I go open gym or I used to play again, the better the competition, the more I play better. I raise my level of play depending on the competition. If I'm playing against all white boys who slow-footed and not that athletic, I'm not going harder on them. I'm not looking because they're white. I'm looking like, yeah, okay, it is. If that's the case, if it's easy task. But I'm not looking at because the color of your skin, I'm gonna go harder against you. This is just really showing y'all racism.
Larry Bird.
Unwritten
Larry
rules.
Bird got guarded by a white guy. He was like, y'all don't have any brothers?
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, Larry, because he wanted the competition. He wanted the highest of the competition. Not to say white dudes wasn't competitive. He wanted the best of the best guarding him because it raised his level of play. See, that's the difference. You talking about you going hard on white boys. What?
see, there's other white players. You had Marley, you have Jason Williams, you have other white players that excelled in the NBA. That besides Larry Bird, Rick Barry, Jerry West, played for the Celtics. With the broad shoulders. There's lots of white guys, lots of black guys. It's a matter of who has skill. That's the issue we're dealing with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark just happened to be a white girl that can best ball out better than a whole lot of black females in the WNBA. Some of it's racism and jealousy, but it gets back to what about those black girls that are biracial? What about the white girls that attack Caitlin? And the reason I said why the white girls jump on that bandwagon, to fit in. Well, I gotta act like I don't like Caitlin either. The black girls might say, "Man, you letting her come at you like that?" Marina Mabry, she is a really good player. She didn't have to do the crap she did, pushing Caitlin down. But she jumped into that whole thing to stay tight with the sisters. Now I said, well, I'll finish up this thing with Pope and we'll move on.
Larry was like, listen, y'all can't guard me. You better get a brother on me who's fast, quick, agile, athletic, all of that stuff. You better put him on me because, yeah, slow-footed white kid, he ain't going to be able to handle that. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's what Larry Bird said.
He felt disrespected.
Yeah, he felt disrespected.
I feel like that's like the unwritten Hooper rule. So no, I was laughing. I was like, it's never that deep.
That's the unwritten Hooper. No, that's the unwritten racist person's rule. That's to go harder on someone because of the color of their skin. See, y'all showing y'all real true colors. That's for sure. And I'm glad you went on ahead and said that. Now let's go ahead and get into this Stephanie Metheny White, man, and what she had to say about Caitlin Clark and her minutes restriction. This is just insanity to me, man. This is criminal on what's happening to Caitlin Clark.
So I'm going to end it right here on this here thing. I just wanted to bring into focus. It happens at the top to the extent that you just saw Pope describing how black people have bought into the same game of the racist position, saying exactly the same things that they're doing to Caitlin and how they're justifying it. Just go ahead and do it to white people as black people. It makes no sense because of the color of somebody's skin. But that's what's happening at the White House. So this is what the judge ruled. Judge ruled against him, saying he clearly prefers white people. I'll play this here. Sorry about that. I just want you to see this. So this is, just want you to look at this. So the judge ruled that he clearly prefers white people. A federal judge is quoting Trump's own words to block policies that pause some immigrants' benefit applications, directed officials to consider their nationality. So a federal judge in Ohio ruled against the Trump administration on Monday, citing bigoted comments President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance made about immigrants. U.S. District Judge Algernon Marbley ordered the White House to unfreeze immigrants' benefit applications, citing Trump and Vance outright hostility toward immigrants, both before and after the 2024 presidential election. These applications include filings for work authorization and green cards. Okay, this is important from people in the U.S., in the U.S. countries, including Burma, Canada, Iran, Nigeria, Syria, Tanzania, and Venezuela. Their ire appears focused on immigrants from countries in the Caribbean, South America, Africa, and Asia. Marbley nominated to the federal bench by President Bill Clinton in 1997 wrote. So he was a Bill Clinton, Democrat president, nominated him. So the judge went on and quoted many of Trump's comments against immigrants of color, including the time he railed against people coming to the U.S., and I mentioned this earlier, from shithole countries, or when he claimed Haitians are poisoning the blood of our country, called them vermin, of our country, which came from Hitler and the Nazi regime. In his second term as president, Trump attacked Somali Americans and accused them of adding, quote, nothing to the country, and oversaw violent immigration crackdowns across the country. You saw that what happened with ICE, particularly Minnesota. Marbley also highlighted Trump and Vance's made-up accusations that Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were eating people's cats and dogs. Then he quotes, if I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Vance said in 2024, which Marbley quoted directly. So Vance made up this crap to try to get people in America to believe it. So this general hostility to immigration contrasts with an apparent interest in and preference to the migration of white people, the judge said, Marbley added. Now, this is interesting. Now, in the Trump administration, racism has come back to bite Trump and Vance, and at least some immigrants can have a chance to establish some stability in the U.S. The administration's attempt to shut them out and penalize them for where they come from for reasons born of prejudice was temporarily blocked Monday. So we see a judge going out after them, calling them out for their racism, and that has to stop. You know, we can't continue to have this. So I just want to close off with that and just share with you that we got to look at what's happening at the top of this country is going down into the WNBA. And this is what caused it all. We have Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, in the middle of this. Player of the month of June. July's been kind of shaky because she's been manipulated out of playing by this coach. And now we have Justine Passat. Used to be the Indiana Fever. And I will just share with you, there's some stories going out right now that moves are being made to get Caitlin out of Indiana to get her to Los Angeles to be on LA Sparks. That's allegedly. So that is something that may happen. So let's just say we have to look at where all this hatred comes from, how it can be remedied, who needs to take the reins of changing some of this. I know I went a little long today, but I had to bring this into perspective. I also apologize for some of the things that the Pope said, but he's just raw. I don't use those words that he was using, but nevertheless, he said them and to make a point. So I thank you for being with me today. Y'all have a rest of your weekend. I haven't been watching the WNBA, but I think I'm going to watch the game tonight. Caitlin is playing against those same Las Vegas Aces where Posada is playing on that team. So it's interesting. I'm going to watch the game because I love watching CC. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening, a great week ahead. God willing, I'll be back again for another episode. But remember, all things start at the top. If we want change to happen, we must start at the top. Just to clarify, if we want children to be better, it starts at the top. That's what their parents. We know we have peer group influence, but be a strong mom, a strong dad. Love your children. Teach them to do right. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. I thank you for joining me today. Please like and subscribe. And if you are interested in donating at all to our podcast, just go to this website, just like the podcast, Race Cultures. Not Race and, but racecultures.com. And there's a donate button there to contribute, and that would help us, with some of this production that we do and to help other people out there. God bless you. God keep you. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'll see you again the next go around. Thank you very much. Good night. God bless. Thank you.